How for you as an owner do you evaluate this campaign?
I'll choose my words carefully because I don't think we're after the watershed. It's been phenomenally disappointing in every way, Mark. It really has. I love coming here on a Sunday to the Rocks games and seeing everybody here having a good time, and it's just not a great experience watching sport without fans. So in all honesty, I haven't enjoyed it at all this season. Maybe that's also because we have been so disappointing on the floor. I think we should be in a much better position than we're in. Given the investment that we've made in our players this season, then we should certainly be a mid-table team. That's where our budget should have us in the top half of this league. So it is very disappointing. And when I watch us play like that in the first half, we have a very good first half, but then make some crazy mistakes and decisions. So it has been disappointing this season. It hasn't been much fun, but I think when we look back on it, we'll be quite happy that we're actually still here as an organisation.
Because there's a question here we've got from Rastus the dog. That's his name. Nothing else available. I mean, can you talk a little bit about next season? I mean, how's the income streams looking for next year, and is there have you already kind of set out targets for next season?
Yeah, I mean, we will be here next season, which again, a few months ago, I wasn't 100% sure we would be, so we'll be here, and we'll start our recruitment. We've already started recruitment for next season. Now we know that Gareth's been spending a lot of time looking at players, so yeah, we'll put together and we'll have a budget that should make us competitive, or certainly more competitive than we've been this season. But it'll come down to recruitment, Mark. We've got to recruit well. That's the difference that we've got here.
DM here on Twitter from Paul, doesn't give us a surname. How do you view the league as a general in terms of parity between teams? I guess referring to teams like London or Leicester, but how do you see that going forward? I guess is the question.
I mean, there has been a dramatic change in the dynamic in the league. There are probably 4 teams in London, in Plymouth, and Leicester and Newcastle that for different reasons have got a much bigger income stream. And typically in sports all over the world, the people with the most money tend to win. That's the way that it works. But we are struggling to compete with teams. There's a salary cap in this league. I don't know how people are managing to recruit on that salary cap, because my understanding is some of the players that are getting played in this league, some of them are getting paid almost as much as the salary cap on its own. So I'm staggered. I need to get better at negotiating if they're getting the players within the salary cap that's in this league.
How do you see the status of the league? Because all the teams have had funding. Obviously, yours is a different source from the teams down south. But you kind of talking to other owners, and you get a sense of this. What's the health of this league as we kind of approach the end of what's been an incredibly unusual, difficult campaign?
I mean, pre-COVID, this league wasn't in a good position financially. There's no money in British basketball. We have had funding this year to keep the lights on, but previous to that, there's no funding that comes to the BBL. There's no headline league sponsor. There's no money from a TV deal. So there's not a lot of money in the sport. We've seen a couple of new owners come in and take over teams that do have access to money. But the league's, it's not in a great position, but it's actually a really good product that we're putting out. And I think when people are watching it on these streams and when we're on Sky, it might make them think, I want to go along and watch that because that looks quite good fun, and it would certainly look more fun with fans here. But yeah, the league's doing okay, but it could really do with a cash injection. It's starved of cash.
A couple of people, I'm just picking questions outside here, Randy, but a couple of people have asked about communication with fans. I know, it's always difficult. You use social media. It's difficult, I guess, in a situation because you can't walk up to and speak to spectators at a game as you might have done, 12 months ago. How do you feel about the way that the club is able to communicate with spectators or fans, followers, etc.? I mean, is that something you look to improve? What's the strategy for it?
Yeah, I think it's something we have improved on. Sean, our general manager, and Mitchell, they're very switched on when it comes to social media. We've got some of the, if we're putting a league table of social media followers, we're probably top of the league when it comes to some of the channels that we have. But we've got to communicate with fans even more so when they can't come to games. And our supporters club, our official supporters club, the Rocks OSC, they've been very good, and they've been engaging with the club with their own membership and encouraging people to get involved. So yeah, I'm encouraged that we've managed to keep in contact with them. There's a lot of people watching these streams, and once we get back up and running again, we'll have to do more and better.
I mean, we've seen obviously other clubs get investment, particularly London. How open are you to that? Is it interesting from the Rock's point of view? Is it a necessity? Where's the structure of this club as you see it maybe 5 years down the road?
I mean, 5 years down the road, we need to be even at the Emirates is a world-class arena. It literally is a world-class arena that has world-class events. But we need to be in our own arena. We need to have an arena that we have control of and that we can generate more income, whether that be hot dogs and beers at games or other events or other sports. We definitely need our own arena. We had lengthy talks with Sport Scotland, Clyde Gateway, regarding the funding of an arena. I'd be lying if I said we were really close, but we weren't a million miles away. We started it, we've seen what the arena looks like. There's a piece of land not far from here that's been identified for us. I'm going to re-engage in those conversations when the season finishes, because it's a very different world post-COVID. I'm guessing we've not got more money to give away, but who knows? Who knows?
Can you give us a sliver of what you have in mind for that arena?
Yeah, it would be around 2,500-3,000 seats, probably 4 courts. It would be a relatively basic build, with a container build on the front, with a sort of hard bubble arena that would have in it, probably 4 courts, retractable seats that could put on boxing, darts, other sports as well, comedy, all of these things that we want to be getting back to soon. But it would be a basketball arena, but we'll say 2.5, maybe as many as 3,000 seats. What's
the challenge? I mean, obviously we're sitting here at a game, everyone's watching from home, apart from a few fortunate ones like us who can get to be here. But so much of what clubs do is out in the community. It's away from game days. It's visits to schools, it's visits to clubs, etc. How tricky do you see that reactivation process starting this summer when we hope things will open up? What's the kind of plan to get back out there again? And I guess making the difference, to coin that phrase.
Yeah, I mean, it's why I got interested in the Rocks, is the work that we do in the community, and all 11 clubs really do have community programmes, as do we. Most of ours are going into primary schools. Now, schools have been closed. I'm sure everybody knows that. It's been very difficult, if not been impossible, to get our players into schools. We have some products that we created, which is a remote coaching for primary kids, and a lot of them are now being delivered to schools going back. But we'll absolutely be looking to re-engage for next season with our players and get back to doing more in the community, and hopefully that will be face-to-face.
A couple of questions online about next season, recruitment-wise. I mean, obviously, so that Gareth is going to be stay player coach for next year. We're approaching the end. We talked about Ron Delph and Christian Killeen left, but tentatively saying we'd like to have you back. Where are you at with recruitment?
I mean, the good news is that I've got nothing to do with recruitment.
Where are you at with budgets for recruitment? I suppose is probably the more appropriate question.
Yeah, so my job is to give Gareth a budget and then let him work around it. So I'll have nothing else other than that. And Gareth knows what his budget is for next year. And it's at a similar level that it was last season, and we're at a similar level this season. Hopefully it'll be a wee bit more next year, because it is becoming harder to recruit well. But when it comes to selecting players, I'm going to leave those that know about the game. Although I must note, because I can see the referee's got a couple of wrong calls in that half, so I must be starting to understand the rules of basketball a bit more.
It's alright, it took you 20 years for that, so you're fine. It's the Rocks. When you look at you're building kind of off the court as well. And, this has been from a business point of view, it's been a tough year for everyone. Yeah. So basketball clubs are as hit by any other kind of business but where do you kind of grow this club? I mean, commercially, and I guess this goes in hand with growing the league commercially. I mean, you look at things like the Sky Sports deal, that been so much bigger for the league this year. I mean, is there in a sense a stronger proposition because there's a better television proposition?
100%. I'm really disappointed that there's not fans, because that really would be the cherry on the top. If there's people tuning in, and as many as 60,000-70,000 people watching our games when they're on Sky, if they've seen a full crowd and they've seen the fun that people are having, it would definitely make them come along. Like most clubs, we only have 3 sources of income, and it's tickets, it's merchandise, and it's sponsorship. So we need to do more of that to generate more income. So while we're here as a tenant at the Emirates Arena, then we have to generate as much as we can around sponsorship, and we need to fill every seat that we're allowed to fill next year, whatever number that will be.
Last question, personal one. For you, having come in here a few years ago when things were all jolly and the world was very normal, what's it been like trying to manage through this? Because there are so many things we have to get temperature checked as we come in the building. That is just the tip of a very large iceberg. Personally, how tricky is this year or otherwise been for you?
It's been tough. I think I'm actually 4 years this week, I think.